To all my brothers and sisters, Hebrews and Israelites, and those who have been reborn, renewed on the path of righteousness to the Most High through the Messiah, Yeshua. I would like to say this, especially those standing on the corner, still beating the dead horse with the same rhetoric and bitterness that they had for the last 4 or 5 years. This is 2016, and whatever I am going through that I will not state and throw out there to cause a separation and bitterness and segregation, I will say this. Ashkenazi are Ashkenazi for a reason. They already know. There are a lot of people in this world that already know. If I was to sit down and talk to a group, and a lot of the majority of the people that do watch me are Caucasian, there is a way to talk and carry yourself to let somebody know the truth, because not everybody is going to hell. Understand, it was for the fulfillment of the Gentiles to be brought into the word. They were given the power, the glory, and the riches for a reason, which is why we see Rome and Grecians hooked up together over us. They didn't like each other too well. They warred with each other when Rome took over Greece. Understand, it was us that brought them two together to overthrow us, take it over, make it political and economical. You're sitting over here beating a dead horse, and then you're going to get judged by the same way that you judge. Because I can tell you this right now, not a lot of people are walking around here on this earth without a couple of twigs, a couple of limbs of a tree or a forest in their eye. So I know for a fact that can't nobody sit down and pick a daggone twig or a forest out of somebody's eye when they got a whole nation of trees in theirs. So let's sit down and get this rhetoric straight. Stop doing that. I want to see everybody make it into heaven. And I want to see you guys be spiritually in tune with the word. And you can only do that by stop having a worldly hate. So let's see what the word has to say about this. It sits down and says right here in Proverbs, all right, 25, all right, 24:16, do no violence into his dwelling. 7 times a righteous man falls and gets up, because he learns of his folliness in order to correct it, to come back into the path of righteousness and repents and never goes back to it. While the wicked are tripped by one misfortune to the hellfire. By bringing those into the fulfillment of the word and the material things, and them not sharing them, it lets their true characteristics come out in their actions, in their ways. I've been trying to show you this. So everything that is good, we know ain't good. So let's break this down to a hood street term, since that's the only way I can get these little hard-headed, simple-minded people to listen. Okay? Brothers and sisters, 1, all money ain't good money. We've had a little bit of sayings, we just changed it up to go with the modern times. We all know that. And then, if you're sitting down selling crack your whole life and then become a millionaire by the time you a certain age, what's the saying that we always use? Hey, if I ain't got rich now, I ain't never gonna get rich. Might as well change it up. Boom. So, my whole thing is this. If you are in a certain position, going through a certain oppression, or going through a certain type of thing in your life, you don't ever let that make you bitter. You look at it as a blessing, because understand one thing. They're starting to catch on, all right? And they're catching on really quick and realizing that us that are spiritually in tune knew that, oh, well, we weren't supposed to get that land. It was the trick for the fake Gentile ones. We already knew that, and they're starting to think about it and go, oh, shoot, it's America. That's why you see all these things happening in America, and everybody trying to flood over, take property, raise the price up, and do all this other stuff. Wake up. You're sitting over here beating a dead horse when you should be sitting down preaching kindness, because the scriptures even tell you, and Yeshua even told y'all to your face, and our ancestors, do not do what you're doing. Stand on a corner teaching bitterness, boom, causing a separation and a segregation, because of the fact when I show up, I don't want them to hate me because of what they heard, but they should be able to say, oh my gosh, I love the Lord because their people was full of love and kindness. but he gave them the fulfillment to trick them up. Proverbs again, it tells you. As a dog returns to his vomit, so a dullard repeats his folly. If you see a man who thinks himself wise, there is more hope for a dullard than for him. Because when you think you got the money and the power and everything's fitting into your own fashion and characteristics and your own traits, because of that money, you just fooled yourself. Because ain't nothing good bearing from that tree but destruction, devastation, corruption, polluted lands, to the point that you're getting taxed for the air you breathe and the water you drink. And the majority, and God put that on this earth, and that's free. Do the math. So then we flip over here, because this is the old. Remember, no peanut butter without the jelly. You can't have a bologna sandwich if you got bologna without no bread. And if you only got sugar and water, how in the heck you drink your Kool-Aid? So we sit up here and we flip over here to 25. All right, and we're looking at verse 21 in Proverbs, and it tells you in Proverbs, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. If he is thirsty, give him some water to drink. You will be heaping live coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you even more. Now I'm going to go to the new, because see, some of the disciples were so upset with our hard-headed, stiff-necked people that didn't want to listen, because they were doing the same thing back then, telling the Gentiles, listen, man, you're going to eat like this, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that. So he had to sit down in the book of Romans and tell them, okay, about the hair, the shoulder length, why the guys should not cover their head, which we see the Ashkenazi do, and then why the woman should cover their head when they pray. Then he sits down and also says, you don't have to, since you've already been living and since you've been eating a certain way, isn't it more important that you just worry about changing your ways, your characteristics on the inside? Forget all that on the outside. He was just trying to let them know, like, don't worry, that's too much for you. Don't worry about what they say, okay? And do not, they used to be your, and you guys used to be enemies. But if somebody comes, and even if your enemy comes and somebody tries to say, doesn't it say in Proverbs that if your enemy or somebody comes, and we see the same thing, because the disciples were teaching the Gentiles this. If they try to say this or they try to do that to you, all right, just ignore them. Don't do anything with them, because aren't you the one that God stated Esau was the one I hated? So since he brought you into the fulfillment, just ignore them, because they'll get live coals on their head, even worse, by you being kind to them and doing thus of that word that they should have done toward you. Romans 12:20. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by so doing, you're heaping burning coals on his head. Do not overcome evil, but overcome. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It is a righteous way, which is what a lot of the Black Panther things stood for when they did this. This stood for righteousness, the path of righteousness. Then we had the fist with the thing, because that stood for righteousness. You could take that big old pick, put it in your thing, braid little afro, and you knew you was righteous. Because that was the way of the Hebrews. Somehow, in some way, we've forgotten even what our great-grandparents and grandparents would show. We forgot about when we used to sit down and to this very day even watch some of them old things in that righteousness. It's about staying on that righteousness. If you're going to stand on 125th and Lexington and cuss everybody out and say whatever you got to say, or Marcus Garvey or wherever else in Harlem, yelling out about Esau, teach about the love and the path of righteousness coming in. Because it's really foolish with all the things that I'm going through that I can speak about this. It's really foolish that there was a point in time that I actually used to think that our governor was dumb. I used to think that the government, FBI, whatever you want to call them, were really, really dumb. They didn't know who the people are. They actually believed this and the whole 9 yards. And I'm finding out that they know the truth. And I do not want to get into it, but I'm actually saying this on a good note. And we need to pray for our officials, our world leaders, the police, and everybody else. We need to pray and hold fast for our enemies, our associates, friends, and family. And I'm being serious, brothers and sisters. They actually know the truth. Because I'm going through the fight for everybody. Yellow, green, black, blue, I don't care who you are. If you love the one true God, I'm in this for you. And they know the truth, and I'm really, really serious. They know the difference. And I could actually say I had to sit down and ask, do you have hatred or bias in there? And whatever was stated, we actually like you guys. And I can't say who said it, and I do not want to get into it. So I'm asking you on the behalf of people who are put into place to serve and protect in the whole 9 yards, stop doing certain things, because we are loved, we are understood, and there are people who believe in us that are white, yellow, green, blue, that love the Lord, that believe in Yeshua and the Lord, and know who we are as a people that are in this fight with us. Each person that has to put up with you slapping it in the face with bitterness and offers you that water while you're being bitter, is putting hot coals on your head. I seen a white girl come, I'm telling you, seen the white girl go up to him, and she was really into the Lord. Faith, she really loves the Lord, she really knows the people, and she recognizes it just like Brother Dave does, who has been renewed and reborn. And he's done it too, and he's really good at that. I'm word up, and he's from England. Ooh, he's really good at that. You can sit down and call him all kind of Edomites, and he'll say, yeah, this, that, third, bless you, and this, and that, and he's throwing hot coals on you spiritually and getting the reward in return because of his kindness and walking in that path of righteousness, knowing who he is. And she did the same thing, and they couldn't say anything. They stood on the corner, and that shut that whole sermon down, because the only thing that they knew was hate. So this has to stop, because nobody out there is greater than Solomon was, and he committed atrocity by building that temple for that false god, and even he got judged. So we already know you committing all kind of atrocities out there. So who are you to sit down and say, hey, this is what I am, I brag and I boast and all this other stuff, when the Lord stated, show by your actions and your characteristics, so when they do see me and they're shocked when they see me and they find out the real truth and the mysteries of the humans on this earth and their past, they will rejoice in glory because of your actions within the understanding in the path and the characteristics of Yahweh. So let's try to get this right, brothers and sisters, and be about an understanding, a love, and a kindness. If you sitting down claiming to be of one of the tribes, of these people, of this bloodline, please start carrying the characteristics of Yahweh. And you can only do that by sitting down, talking about love and understanding, while wisely kicking the knowledge to the people of who they are and bringing them in to Yahweh's characteristics and understanding out of what they used to be, but in a gentle manner. If you have to go hardcore on somebody because they really ain't understanding, then you know how to do that also. You knew how to sell them products that you had. You know how to make that hustle and make them moves that way to pay those bills. Then you turn around and you flip that with the word of God and you save those souls no matter who they are, and start separating the daggone nations and let them separate themselves, because even a dog goes back to his vomit if you give it enough time and enough leash to hang itself. Use your mind. Come on now.